Let me know when we hot. We good.
Please keep all it in this. Please keep all it in this.
Gotta,
Yep.
all right,
Let's
I'm
get
I'm
ready
done
to
playing. I'm
You're
done
so
rumble.
damn
playing.
stupid, Will.
Ding, ding. Oh, okay. Just trying to stretch my back. I don't want to, because I'm gonna be heaved over a little bit. All right, three, two, one. Yo, 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 man. This is Willa the Dude, and you're here listening on the podcast of What the Dude Say. Today might get a little antsy a little bit today, but for the most part, we're gonna be talking about grieving. And I understand, a lot of people go through grieving in their own type of way. Um, a lot of people kind of take it in a sense in a bad way and it kind of brings them down, and some people kind of take it to where it don't affect them at all. They just keep on moving. And for me, that's the thing of, stuff is going to happen, right? And that could either make you or break you, because a lot of people get depressed and get down and sad and stuff like that. So today we're just going to talk about, how we deal with grief and some of the things that brought us into the grieving part of our lives or whatever. Um, I guess starting with you, Street Man, what you got, for is, how do you deal with the grief, and, what put you into the grieving mode or whatever?
So it's kind of come in stages for me to get to where I'm at now. It used to hit me really hard. I'd be depressed for a while. Like when my grandmother passed away, like it took me a couple years because that was like my second mom. It took me a couple years to get over that. And then as I've gotten older and more friends have passed away, it hits harder. It still hits hard, but it doesn't last as long. Because I mean, as you get older, you kind of learn and realize that's just a cycle of life. No matter how sudden it may happen, I mean, it is what it is. Miss them every day, but try my best not to let it bring me down as hard as it used to a long time ago. Uh, alcohol helps. Alcohol helps a lot, especially for like the first few months. But I mean, life goes on. I mean, it is. That's just the way it is.
Oh, cool. So, Pegasus, like, I know you dealt with a lot of grief or whatever in the last few years or whatever, probably a little longer than that. How did you kind of dealt with it?
My main way that I try my best to deal with it is I keep people around me, man. As long as I know that I got somebody around me, I'm keeping them happy, they're keeping me happy. That helps me get through situations a lot more. And I mean, it's gonna always hurt. When you lose somebody, it's gonna hurt regardless. But me just having other people around me that take my attention off some of it sometimes, and that definitely helps out on my accord. But one thing is like I try my best to keep laughing, keep a smile on my face, because that show how strong I am on my end to my you know to myself. That's how I feel.
Okay, okay. Well, All Star, man, what you got for us?
Well, I would say that I'm a little different than most, right? Um, kind of on the similar lines of what Street said and what Pegasus said. Like I'm a pretty closed loop type of guy. You know what I mean? I there's a lot of people always around me at a given time, but there's only a few that I would call, when I'm feeling some type of way about something. You know, regarding grief or losing somebody. Like I said in a few episodes back, when we first started this podcast, I keep my circle small. My circle to many might seem big because I know a lot of people, but there's only a few that I really keep around me, and that's my core circle, right? But not to rehash old episodes, but for me, I think the the scope of it. I mean, I've lost a lot of big people in my life, a lot of people that I looked up to, a lot of friends that were literally like brothers. Um, you know, they were ride or die type of guys. You know what I mean? Um, but I grieve. I won't sit here and tell you that I don't shed a tear, that I'm not upset. Every day living on without them in my life. But for me, somehow or another, like I don't consider it like, yeah, I went to their funeral. We watched them get put in the ground. Reality tells me that they're no longer here. But I stay in a fictional world, if that makes sense. Like, I've dealt with so much trauma and so much grief by losing people that I've loved, and that I cherished my relationships with since I was little, that I just kind of live in a pretend environment where one day I'm going to get to see them again. Hadn't seen them in a really long time. Don't know what they're up to today, but that's how my mind copes with grief. So, like not too long ago, a couple years ago, all of us lost, somebody that was pretty intricate into our group of friends, right? And there's not a day that I don't go by that I don't remember putting him in the ground. Um, but that's not how I look at it. How I look at it is, I'll see him again one day, you know, and that's just how I deal with it. I don't focus on that they're not around to call or talk to anymore. I just treat it as, they just moved away you know, to some place that I can't reach them. And that's how I go through life.
Yeah. For me, I've had a lot of people that left this earth for whatever, um, in many different ways, either be it sick, killed, um, of that nature. So me as a kid, being in the sixth grade, I lost a cousin of mine. He was killed by a drunk driver, right? And being in the sixth grade, I didn't know how to take it or whatever, just seeing it happen or whatever. I saw him take his last breath, saw him get hit by the car, saw his mom come out there and was like, that ain't my son, is it? For it to be him and she fall out, and stuff like that. For his sister to say I was the reason why he died. So that put me in a bad, bad state, Actually, I was grieving. I think to be honest, man, I probably didn't get no sleep for probably like a week behind that. Um, didn't know the stages of what I was going through because he was probably like the second person that was close to me because we hung out every day. Like they stayed right down the street or whatever. We caught the bus together. We did a lot of crazy stuff together growing up. And I didn't find out until like I was in college that I was depressed and that I was grieving. There was a lot of stuff that I was going through that altered my mind. Like I used to hate for people to ask me like, "Where are you?" Because he went to my house and asked my grandmother where was I the day he got killed or whatever. And me as a kid, when his sister said I was the reason why he got killed, that kind of put me in a headspace of, damn, like, it probably is my fault because we always together. And he ended up just walking down where I was, and he got killed, and I thought that was my fault for the longest. And nobody ever told me. And where I'm from is the country, so we don't know anything about therapy. We don't know. Nobody ever asks like, "Are you okay?" Well, people say, "Are you okay?" But to me, that ain't really what they mean or whatever what they were supposed to mean. Like, let's get you some help. This is gonna traumatize you, for life or whatever. Nobody ever pulled me to the side and asked me like, do you need to go talk to somebody, or to that nature. Um, but I think probably my junior year in college, that's when I found out I was really grieving through that whole process or whatever from that time to like I said, sixth grade to a junior in college, which was a long time. And it triggered me throughout my life during that time to, do a lot of stuff. And I guess once I started going to therapy, that kind of put me in the mind like, oh, I was grieving that whole time. Um, when I lost my grandmother, I think I was okay with the situation because she was sick. So I really didn't get too emotional until like later on. It kind of hit me like, dang, my grandmother's gone. Um, I lost two brothers last year or whatever, and they kind of hit me a lot different. Like I really was grieving. When we was out of town, Picasus and All Star, y'all held me down for a minute, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Y'all held me down as long as y'all could, but my mind was just steady racing, steady going. And then just to find out this past week that, the charges was dismissed from my brother's case or whatever. They basically dismissed the guy or whatever. I'm guessing because they stuck with the whole thing of my brother kicked in the door and all that other stuff. And, not gonna get into it, but that's the put me back in a state of grieving this past week. And my mom, she's not okay with the whole situation. She's okay, but she, I guess for anybody who loses a child and can't get no justice, it's gonna be hard. But, I guess she's stronger than most. But yeah, grieving is just something I really hit me. But will you guys ever consider getting or going to therapy at least? Because you can put stuff. So my thing was when I was depressed, which I didn't know I was depressed. Any little thing that happened, I used to put it in a jar. Basically, put it in a jar and just close the jar and just put it to the side. And one day that jar is just gonna fill up to the point where you can't put that top on, or it's gonna bust. So therapy kind of helped me out with that. And would you guys ever consider getting therapy?
See, that's the whole thing is our generation when we were younger, the whole depression, like grief, like nobody talked about it growing up. So I've seen a therapist a couple times. It was actually over a breakup, and it helps a lot. You learn different tips and tricks on how to get over certain situations. And I mean, now if I need it, yeah, but I think I do all right on my own. But for anybody else, I would absolutely, if you've never been to therapy before or seen and talked to a grief counselor, do it if you're going through some shit. That's my thoughts on it.
I definitely have thought about it, but when am I going to do it? I don't know. Definitely don't know when I'm going to try it actually. Um, because I've been dealing with a lot of stuff on my own anyway. Like I said, besides me keeping people around me, but like I've been going through everything, staying focused and doing stuff on my own. I'm going to try it eventually though. That's the thing. I keep saying that, but when? you know, it's just like resolutions and all that stuff we talked about. It's like have these resolutions that you're gonna do that. So it's gonna be something that I'm gonna put on my list to do. Probably this year for sure.
And I
And
mean,
I oh, go ahead,
go ahead, Willie.
Street. Go ahead, Street.
They have video conferencing counselors and everything you can do. Since we're on the road all the time, I mean that's an option you can try to do, bro.
Yeah, I learned from Willie the Dude about that.
Yeah, I do it over the phone, man. I gotta find a new person because the person I got, she just got hired at Alabama A&M, so she's a professor now. So it'd be hard for us to talk when we need to because I think she has night classes too. Um, so yeah, basically, you know, man, if I encourage anybody to do it, I was one of the people that was like, man, I never do therapy, I never go through it. But like I said, it didn't help me out a whole lot. Like I said, after we came back from where we were, Pickets and All Star, like, I had to seek some type of help, um, and that kind of been helping me out throughout this whole journey or whatever. Because I felt like crashing out, and I definitely went back to that point this past week where I felt like I was finna. After hearing what happened, I really was on some craziness. Like, yeah. I told my mom I can't come home for a while because it's just part of the grieving thing, man. So, All Star, would you consider?
Hey man, I won't never say that I won't do something. You know, I personally have never talked to a therapist. Um, and I guess that just goes back to how I was raised. You know, the idol of my life was my grandfather. You know, pastor of a church for almost 60 years. And, you know, he told me the best therapy that there ever was is just keep praying. You know what I mean? So when I'm feeling really down or I'm feeling like I got that itch to go do something, in retaliation or something crazy, man, that's what I do. I just get down beside my bed and I start praying and talk to the man upstairs. Um, does it always seems like it works? No. I mean, there's been times that I've went and lashed out even after kneeling down beside my bed and praying, and done things that now I regret. At the time, I would have never said that I would have ever regretted my retaliation or my revenge. Um, I'm open. You know, if I ever felt like I needed to talk to somebody that didn't know me or didn't know my scenario or didn't know my life, but kind of to what Pegasus says, like I know with you guys and a couple of other people that that are not a part of this podcast, if I'm really feeling some type of way, I'm gonna call, and you know what I mean. I just need to get that shit off my chest for a minute. But you know, and I'm not saying that I'm just cold hearted and built like stone because I'm not. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I never really I don't think about as if they're gone. I just always think about, I'm gonna get to see them again one day. Um, I don't know when that day will be. Um, but you know, I, I I agree with with what Street said as well. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, go talk to somebody. You know what I mean? And it ain't even really grief is so much larger than just death. You know what I mean? Grief comes in many forms. It can come in relationship. It can come in the way of a job. It can come in, and I mean, you hear that saying like, "Man, that shit give me grief today." You know, it comes in many forms. It don't always have to revolve around death. And sometimes people just need to talk to somebody. I just feel fortunate enough that if I had something really going on in my life that and I'm not gonna say that I haven't. There's been times that I've called the three of you to talk about some shit that's going on, and that, that's my way of venting. Like you guys in some form or way are my therapists because I get to talk to you guys, and a lot of times I get perspectives from you guys, and other times you guys just listen and agree. Like, yeah, that's fucked up, man. I hate you're going through that shit. And, you know, the next day, I'm back to me. I just move on, keep it moving, you know. It's that's just kind of that's just me, man. Like I'm, we talked about living life one day at a time, and you know, when it comes to grieving or grievance about something, I'm in the passenger seat with Pegasus over there. It's one day at a time. Tomorrow I gotta be focused on something else. You know, I never allow myself. I don't allow too much real estate in my mind and in my heart on things that's not going to push me forward. Like if it's traumatic or if it's bad, then there's a season to deal with that shit, and then I got to move on. I got to get on to something else. Because if I just stay where I'm at and I keep dwelling on that same thoughts or those same dark places, then I will do things and will acquire things that a lot of people truly end up in that where they have to go seek professional help. You know what I mean? Like I feel fortunate enough that I have people around me and guys, buddies, brothers that I can call and say, you know what, today was a fucked up day. So hey, do you mind jumping on video with me? We're gonna kill this fucking bottle. I'm gonna get really shit faced. I'm gonna go to sleep. And tomorrow morning when I wake up, we're gonna talk about something else. You know, I mean, there's plenty of country and rap songs and all the genres that wrote about, you know, fucking putting that shit at the bottom of a bottle and putting the damn top back on it and letting it stay there. And as bad as that is for your health, Street wasn't wrong. Alcohol helps. Not that we're saying go out and get fucking shit faced drunk and drink because you got grievances, but
Kill your liver.
sometimes you just gotta swallow that pill for the day and then you move on. You know, that's just my thoughts.
So while you was talking, All Star, I got like a tingle in my brain, like Spidey sense kind of went off. So would you guys mind doing a show like just a vent show to where
Yeah,
hopefully we are out of town somewhere all together and we can just sit around and probably record just talking, just kind of getting some stuff out there, you know, like getting some
yeah.
stuff off our chest. Because I feel
I
like
I think
sometimes that's
we
needed.
I think we should do a call in from our listeners on that episode. Let them call in and just let them vent. You know, maybe they just need to hear they need what the dudes say to get some shit off their chest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we've all been through, a lot of stuff. So I feel like we all can talk to each other or talk to other people about, how to deal with certain situations or, give them advice about this, about that, or whatever. So, I sympathize with all you guys, man, what all y'all said. So, you know,
Yep. Have you guys ever dealt with somebody that truly like was really going off the deep end and they were contemplating like suicide? Y'all ever dealt with anybody like that?
Yep.
yep. Yeah,
I would say that is probably the toughest to navigate. It,
very
it is the
draining.
hardest because there's so much effort as the listener to somebody that's in that state of mind that you have to like you gotta know how to navigate those waters, man. That's tough. It's tough because there's not a whole lot you're gonna say that's gonna make them feel any different, even if you're trying to build them up and boost them up and I mean, for our viewers and our listeners out there, no matter how tough, and this is just my opinion, the other what the dudes say guys may think differently, but in my opinion, there is nothing in this world that is worth taking your own life out of the equation. Nothing. Because life is a beautiful thing and you're only given one chance at it. No matter how many times you stumble and fall or trip, it's about how you pick yourself up and you proceed forward, with or without whatever it is that's got you in that kind of state of mind. You still if you're breathing, you still got an opportunity to make this life what you want it to be. That charge in that direction comes from yourself, nobody else.
So piggybacking off of that, I wanted to kill myself during that time, during the time with my cousin or whatever. Like I said, I was young, didn't know no better, but I had suicidal thoughts or whatever. And I quickly kind of snapped out of it real quick, you know. But dealing with people that's going through something and they're real depressed about it, that's draining, bro. That's like hella draining. Like, and I guess that's why I don't too much call and give everybody my little whole spiel and stuff like that because, I don't want to be a burden or feel like I'm being a burden to anybody or whatever. And I know I got to get better with that for myself. But dealing with somebody that don't want to come out of the situation they got going on, getting out of their grieving stage, if they don't want to come out of it, man, it's gonna be hard. And I dealt with somebody that they had a situation where their grandmother died, and that's somebody they've been with all their life or whatever. And I guess she felt like she didn't have nobody else to turn to, but she just shut herself out or whatever. And just trying to navigate her through, the whole ordeal and stuff like that, it was draining. And she one of the people that I had to let go of because it was kind of draining me. And then when I went through my situation, she was nowhere to be found. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's and I guess that
Well,
was the harsh reality for me to just, what I'm saying, like, let me take myself out the picture. You
yeah,
can't do stuff for people that, people ain't gonna do for you. You know what I'm saying? Well, people ain't gonna treat you the way you treat them. So, you know.
yep. Well, and
Well,
those are the
I,
people.
I
Those
would
are the people you got to cut out your life.
I would like to say something to you, Willie, to do. Don't ever say that you're a burden. My phone's always open. You need to
Yeah.
talk, call me.
But I guess that's just part of it's just part of, I mean, what I've been through already and, things that I've seen that other people do is
Yeah.
just, I have a lot of shit going on. I have a lot of stuff going on. But I try to push it out the way, be so positive. I guess that's why I play so damn much because I'm just, trying to put myself in a different headspace. But I can say this year has gotten a little bit better with even last year. I think I gotten a little bit better because I call Pegasus sometimes and talk to him. I know he don't be want to hear my shit, but then he starts shit with me as soon as I call him, and it'd be all good. Just like All Star, I'll call you sometimes, like, man, look, this is what it is, or whatever. And by the time we get off the phone, shit, I'd be feeling a whole lot better. I'm gonna go smoke me a cigar and drink me probably a beer or two, and I'll be all right.
You ain't got to tell all our viewers and listeners that I'm that bad of an influence for that Willie to do.
I just can't call you on a Friday. You be like, man, just get you a drink and just close out the week. Hey, that sounds good to me.
Yep, yep. Yeah,
Mm.
I'll share. Go ahead, Pegasus. Go ahead.
I was about to ask with music being, something that touched the soul. Do y'all have a go-to song when y'all down?
Yeah, I go back. I go back to the old gospel, man. If I'm feeling real, real down, well, that's the only thing to lift my spirits. I got to hear. I got to hear some old gospel, man.
Yeah.
Like that railroad type of gospel, bro. I mean, that stuff just hits your soul in a different type of way. And you might sit in your car and might cry through it for a minute, but then when that song's over, you're like, all right, you know, let's keep moving. Let's keep the train moving.
Yeah, I listen to a gospel. I listen Lee Williams, I Can't Give Up Now. That didn't put me through a whole lot of stuff, man. Like I can just listen to that, hop in the car, and I'm good to go, man, after that. Like you said, I just shed a couple tears if I got to, and wipe myself clean, man.
For me, it just depends on what's going on. Sometimes I'll navigate towards hard rock. Sometimes I'll go towards jazz, R&B. It just depends on what's going on and what the mood is.
For me, like I got the old songs. I forgot who made that song. When a change gonna come. It's an old school song, but the song that has grown on me is the Wiz Khalifa song. See
Sam
you
Cooke.
again. Sam Cooke made that, yeah.
Yeah.
And see you again has grown on me. Missing my family and stuff like that. The ones I lost. You know, definitely.
Now I used to
Yep.
listen to "One Day You Here and the Next You Gone" by UGK. Like that was my,
Yeah,
you
that's a
know,
good one. That's a good one
yeah,
too.
yeah.
But see, the thing with music, and I'm gonna get back to sharing the story. But I listen to a lot of what people would call, what my wife calls depressing ass music. Um, but for me, it's not depressing, right? Because I relate to the shit so much that like these guys and gals are pouring like their soul into a song, and to a lot of ears it sounds depressing, but to me I'm like, shit, I've been there. I know exactly how that feels. I know, like I hang on every word that's being said, and I think sometimes if people can relate to what's in music, like that helps them know that they're gonna be okay. Like this person, this celebrity or this musician that's well known has went through some shit to write that song. And they're still out there living their best life, making money and doing things that once upon a time that they never thought that they would be able to do. So I mean that's how I listen to it. I mean, you all three of you guys have rode in a car with me, and I'm pretty sure you're like, damn man, we can't get something sappy going on or something, man. This guy over here is just listening to some, this shit's hitting every bad nerve that I got. But that's just, I got a saying about it. You know how they say in movies that sex sells, and it does. I mean, look at look at the whole pornography thing. And it makes a lot of money, right? Well, in music, there's your feel gooders that want to have a good vibe for a club or something like that. But the ultimate deal, if you really study music, and our producer Alex can probably allude and agree with what I'm saying, but sadness sells because that's what touches the bones so deep that people want to come back and listen to it the next time. Um, but so real quick, I'll share a story back on the topic that Willie the Dude brought up. And there is only a handful of people that know this story about me. Only a handful. It's something that I don't really share. Um, I guess I used to be ashamed of it. But I'm pretty much an open book. There's only a few things that's sealed behind some secret vault doors that won't never get said. This is not one of those. But I went through a very rough patch in my life um, when myself and Pegasus was in college. Um, that almost caused both of us to flunk out, right? Because I was not showing up for school. Um, and at the time, Pegasus rode with me to school, so if I didn't go, he didn't go. And it really almost cost us our degrees because it was like we were about 6 weeks. We had missed 6 weeks worth of work. But I was going through a really rough patch in my life. We had lost a very integral part of a guy that is my wife's late husband. He was the centerpiece, the cornerstone of a lot of things. And we had lost him. He had passed away. I had went through a breakup, pretty traumatic breakup, with a girl that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And I started really getting into some bad stuff. And I can remember sitting in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Red Roof Hotel near, God, I think it was near Antioch, and I was not old enough to own a pistol at that point in my life, but I had a pistol, and I was sitting on the side of a bed at the Red Roof Inn, and I was fixing to blow my brains out because I just at that point in my life I had dealt with so much trauma and so much shit in my life that I just did not feel like that I could keep moving and keep going on. Like I literally was at the bottom of my barrel. There was nothing else left to drink, essentially. And I remember, and Carterius or Pegasus doesn't even know this, but we had been on the phone for 20 minutes, talking about, yeah, like I need to get my shit together. We need to get back to class, or we're gonna flunk out. He didn't know that I literally had that pistol sitting next to me the whole time. Um, I talked to him. I talked to some other friends. There was a part of me that was grasping at every straw that it could to not leave this world that way. And I remember answering a call from at the time a friend, but now is my wife, and she is the one that talked me off of that ledge. And there's not a lot of people that know that story, but I did. I mean, I was fixing to end it all. I just didn't have no get. I had no want to keep going. And by the time we got off the phone with her, or by the time I got off the phone with her, I drove my ass all the way back to Birmingham from Nashville at like 3:30 in the morning, and went straight to her house. And she was up waiting on me. We sat out on the porch for hours, just talking. And I mean, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my wife that I'm married to. So
I'm glad you're here, young brother.
Yep.
Glad that didn't.
it's a real thing, man.
Star, I think you know about mine. I don't know if Pegasus and Willie know. But the one that got away, we had plans to move in together. I was living in Montgomery then, working at a cardboard plant, working 16 hours a day, working towards a life together. Like I was fixing to get a house. Like she was finishing up college. She was going to move down there, get a job at the hospital. Like we had it all planned out. And when the situation arose and she cut all ties with me without so much as an explanation, I had just gotten off another 16-hour shift, dog tired, got the text. So I just started driving. Wound up at a video game store in Montgomery that is now going bankrupt. And I had my pistol with me. And I was just sitting in my truck, just going through the motions, crying, upset. And I just looked down at my pistol. And I'm like, I'm done with this shit. Held it up, cocked it, held it to my head, pulled the trigger, nothing. It is by the grace of God that I am here today. And that was the absolute lowest I have ever been in my life. And from that moment forward, I swore to myself I would not allow myself to get to that point ever again. And I mean, when you're going through all that stuff, it takes you out of your normal mindset. Like people say you're out of your mind. Damn, Skippy. You're not yourself. Life has a way of beating you while you're down to where you feel like you have nothing left. But don't give up the fight. Keep going. Keep moving forward. Better days will come. And I mean, I don't know where anybody else would be if I wasn't around. But I just want y'all to know that I love y'all. And if y'all are ever going through anything where you have that kind of thought mindset, I don't care if it's 2 a.m. Call me and I'll be there.
Yep.
We're glad you're here, brother. But I want to do a little funny. I know this ain't the best time, but I was about to say you must have had a high
It is.
point. You must have had a high point or something. Yeah, they jam all the time. Yeah, yeah. But I'm glad you're here though, Josh. Street, because people go through a lot of. It must be. Yeah. People go through a lot of stuff, man. That you know.
Well, I don't, it doesn't matter how strong you are. And
Mm.
I've met some really mentally strong people in my life. Everybody at some point in their life, whether it's young or old, hits what they feel is the lowest point of their life. They hit what their definition of rock bottom is. And I think everybody has to experience some form of rock bottom in order to know what failure is, whether it's your own fault or someone else's, in order to obtain the success and the drive that you have. At least that's my hope for everyone. Not that you hit rock bottom, but that you see just how far you're willing to go to never go back to that again, because that's a success story. And, we're talking about grieving and death and all this stuff on this episode, and it's a little morbid, but the grand scheme of it is life sometimes is just shit, bro. It doesn't matter
Hell,
what walk of life you come from. You could be a rich kid that's never had to fucking want for anything in your life, or you could be the poorest kid that didn't grow up with shit, right? But everybody experiences grief in some shape, form, or fashion. Doesn't matter. It doesn't always have to be tied to death. There's a lot of different types of grieving. But, you know, the question that I guess I would ask is, out of anybody you've ever lost or anybody you've ever dealt with that maybe is still around, what is the worst grievance that you feel like that you've been through?
see, mine would just go back to death. Like that's the
Well, I mean, like more specific, like what's the hardest grief you've ever had to deal with? Like from a person, whether it's losing them or dealing with them.
um. I guess when I lost my grandparents or whatever, because that's basically all I knew growing up. Like that's who I got my love from. Like man, my mom was okay for a while and then it just fell off by the wayside. But with my grandparents, they was always there, no matter whatever happened. Then once they left, and like probably not even a year went by after my grandmother passed away, because my grandfather died first. But once my grandmother passed, it was like, damn, I don't feel the love anymore from nowhere. My uncle kind of, I my mom gone, so now you can go back to your mom. After I felt like my mom didn't want me and stuff like that. So it's, the loss of my grandparent, I kind of felt like the love wasn't there from anybody else or whatever, and it kind of that left me. That's probably like the hardest grief I had to deal with, basically.
The hardest grief I had to deal with was losing my mom. You know, Me and her was just basically just best friends, man. She all I really had for real, on the aspect of parent wise. And then my auntie, she was my other mom. But as in just overall, just dealing with losing somebody, it was definitely my mom first, and then my aunt after that. So it was a ricochet effect. But I felt like I was at my lowest when I lost my mom more than when I lost my aunt because my aunt had prepared me more for what was going on and all that. So that was the main thing or whatever. When I'm dealing with my mom, when I lose my mom.
Mine was probably the breakup. I mean, you go through high school and beyond and plan a whole life together, and all of a sudden it's gone and ripped out from under you and don't know how to act. That normal is gone. I think that one hurt 1,000 times worse and sent me down spiraling worse than when my grandmother passed away.
Yeah, so I would say that I mean I've lost a lot of people in my life, you know, periodically. Um, but I would say the just thinking back on where I was in my life mentally and all the stages of grief that I allowed myself to indulge in, probably the worst was when I was 16 and I lost my best friend. Well, I actually had two best friends, and I lost them literally within 12 months of each other, both of them. Like we were a trio, and this is long before, I met any of you guys and or anybody. Like these three guys were, or these two guys were. I mean, if they were still around today, there ain't no telling the hell that we would have raised in our 20s because they were probably more fearless than I was. And you know, emotions are heightened at 16, 17, 18 years old, way more than they are now. We have a little bit of a control on them now, but when you're a young teenager and you're experiencing the preemptive parts of what life is going to be like, your emotions, testosterone, like everything is just heightened at a point way more than what it is now. And I think losing, I mean, I'll tell you, I beat the shit out of a nurse at the hospital that um, my buddy Josh died at because they were not moving fast enough to try to resuscitate him. I got in a lot of trouble over that. I remember my dad slamming me down into a chair and just telling me to just cool it. You need to stop. And but there was, when you hit that switch, when you don't feel like somebody's trying to resuscitate or revive somebody that you care so deeply about, dude, there's no shut off. Especially at that young of an age. There's just no quit. And it's a little crazy. Like I said, 12 months after that, I lost Caleb. He got killed by a drunk state trooper that was off duty. And it was pretty far away from where we lived. And at the time, I mean, you guys all knew where I grew up, and we didn't have a lot, so there's no way that I could have went all the way down the state to where that guy lived. But had I could have, I would have probably caught a murder charge because that's just where I was mentally. Um, but I think that again, life is not ever how you plan it out. And I know because I'm a planner. I like things to be in order. But, you know, that's why I surround myself around guys like yourselves that have different perspectives, That's why I value your opinion. I'm like, we need to make A to Z, dot I's and cross T's. And then I talk to Pegasus and he's like, I haven't done that yet. You know what I mean? But that's okay because it's his perspective on how he lives his life. You know what I mean? It'll get done when it needs to get done, right? Pegasus ain't never been late on anything. He's always on time. And then when I talk to Willie to do, he's playing all the damn time. I'm like, Will, come on, man, get shit together. You know what I mean? But that's why I value our friendship so much, is because you guys have different perspectives on things. And, there's times when I have to realize that my way is not always the right way. No matter how far I'm pushing you guys, like, hey, we need to get this shit done, or we need to do this, we need to do that. That's just who I am, right? Like I like to dot I's and cross T's and say my ABCs. But, you know, when I guess what I'm saying is when you find people that offset the negative parts of yourself, you ha- you need to hold on to those people, because what they lack is what you bring to their life, and what you lack is what they bring to your life. So, I appreciate you boys. I do.
Yes, sir. So I think we've come down to, a close. Um, on behalf of what the dudes say, to our producer, um, I want to say, I guess, from all of us, um, we're praying for you during this hard time. We know you lost your grandmother. And so, we're here right along with you. So anything you want, you need us to do, we're here for you. With that being said, man, this is what the dudes say, and we out. Peace.